Hello there beautiful, how are you doing today? My name is Joesephyr and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to do a quick video and I'm going to try and make it as short as I can just to explain exactly what BT Plus and Lufenia Plus are going to include going forward in Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, as it's something that we're looking to expect from this coming month and obviously every month that follows after it. So if you'd like to know more about BT Plus, Lufenia Plus, what the differences are, what to expect, then of course stay tuned and keep on watching. Of course, don't forget to check out all of my social links in the description box below before we get started, including Twitter, Twitch, Discord, Patreon, and now as well Ko-fi as well, which if you would like to consider supporting the channel further by way of doing something like this, then it's something that's quite new to me and I'm still experimenting with it all at the moment, but obviously anything that I receive on this channel is very much appreciated, so perhaps you'd like to have a look at that as well. And then obviously you can join me on Twitch when all of these new things come along on Dissidia Opera Omnia as well. Now with Patreon, I do obviously shout out one of my patrons every time I release a video, and today that person is going to be Rossum, who has Zidane as their title card, which is quite appropriate seeing as Zidane is the first new unit to get a BT Plus. So thank you very much for your support, and to every one of my patrons as you keep me going with what I can do with this channel. And of course don't forget to check out all the other content creators and resources pertaining to Dissidia. So what is BT Plus exactly? Obviously we've had BTs, LDs, EXs for a long period of time, but this is a brand new power. What is it exactly and how does it benefit us? Well, if you've been playing the game for a while, you'll know how EX Plus works. So with an EX weapon, you would level it to max, limit break it, then the option would become available for you to realize it using a ruin book, and then after that you then level it again and limit break it again for new benefits and augmentations to the character. But instead of having to use power stones, you'd instead use ruin ingots in order to completely finish the job and get all of the benefits that you get from EX realization and EX Plus 3 out of 3. Well, I'm happy to say that the BT Plus works in pretty much exactly the same way, but instead of obviously your EX being buffed and bits about your character that way, you're instead boosting the BT and you'll get extra benefits for doing that. So you'll get ingots and books. What the name of it is, I'm not sure yet, but it will be revealed, I'm sure, very, very soon, by clearing the current Lufenia difficulty as well as the new Lufenia Plus difficulty that we'll be getting in order to awaken a BT to make it stronger and apply all these new lovely benefits that we get. So what is it you actually get out of doing that? So with a BT, obviously we know that you get a BT phase as you do with, it's similar to a summon where you get a use of all of your skills, or 6 turns where you get a use of all of your skills, and then you get a BT attack at the end, at which point you get a buff that applies to the whole party that differs between each character. Well, when it comes to augmenting this realization, when you give it just the book and leave it at 0 out of 3, typically when enhancing a burst this way, you'll get an augmentation to the burst attack itself. So I'm going to use Ishtola's BT here as an example because it's one that's coming up very soon and it actually sets a precedent in a nice way. So in this particular case, it makes it so that it hits harder and it raises the HP damage cap quite significantly and also makes it so it has more hits. This is typically what you'll see from a book augmentation onto a BT attack. When you put a singular limit break on it by way of using an ingot, then you get an extra turn added to the BT phase. So this obviously is great for any character that can get more out of their attacks, free skills, etc. And generally just means more damage output, more chances to apply buffs, etc. So you get a 7-turn BT phase instead of a 6-turn one. Now 2 out of 3, you get an actual a buff to the burst effect and the thing that you get after, or the lasting effect that you get after using the burst. And in the case of Ishtola, it does give her quite a lot because you get Brave gain plus 50%, the duration gets extended to 10 turns, you get more Brave overflow limit, and more Brave overflow limit again when you get when you've got initial bravery over, or your bravery over initial bravery. So it adds a lot to her burst effect, and this is true of many BT attacks. When putting 2 out of 3 on them, you'll find that the BT effect is what gets augmented most. And then lastly, At 3 out of 3, you get an additional use of the BT attack that is separated from the BT phase. So this will come up as another icon on your list, which means that you can use the BT attack on its own without actually going into the BT phase at all. This obviously means that you get to take advantage of the BT effect twice. It means that you can use it like before. You can have the BT effect up for when you go into your burst phase if you want. But not only that, but because it's separate from BT phases entirely, which are restricted to one use per battle, like in your party, like if you have 2 BT characters, you can't use a BT phase with both characters. You can use their BT attack singularly, like before using any other character. So for example, with Zidane and Y'shtola going in with BT plus as the opening act for it, as it were, if you happen to have 3 out of 3 on both Zidane and Y'shtola, you can use their BT plus attack singularly, like both of them if you wanted to, but you are still restricted to using a singular burst phase. But this means that you can set up way stronger turns, way stronger abilities, and as time goes on, and the ingots and books to awaken BT abilities is a little bit more, or a little bit less hard to come by. Like they're still difficult, but obviously as time goes on, we'll have more ready access to them. Then you'll be able to set up like incredibly powerful sort of phases, like, you know, having a BT effect up while using somebody else's BT, having a friend BT plus effect up while doing the same thing. It all adds up to a great deal of power. So while these things are rare, you're only going to get the resources to make BT pluses through the likes of Lufenia and the new Lufenia Plus difficulty. That is, you know, it's still well worth doing, but pick and choose it because you're not going to be able to do everybody. Now, before we move on to talking about Lufenia Plus, it's very important to note that BT Plus is really, really strong, and the nice thing about it, and it was the same with the EX Plus era as well, is that you don't need to pull duplicates of a BT in order to be able to do this. So once you've got a BT, you don't have to worry about getting extras as long as the ability has been unlocked within the game, been released. You can then use your books, your ingots, etc. to start working on it. So this means that if you have a particular character in mind, like for example, I'm very much eyeing up Bart, Vayne, etc., then I can save my books and ingots to awaken those characters. Like I said, you can't really do it for everybody because of the scarcity of the materials involved. But the thing with BT Plus era and going forward is that it's getting even harder to discern like straight up good character, bad character. That's been the thing for this game for a long period of time, and it's great because people can use their favourites up to a certain point. And I know a lot of people are very worried about Lufenia Plus because they're worried that they're going to get railroaded into certain things. And this is true to a certain extent at the beginning of Lufenia Plus, because much like Chaos was when it first came out, a lot of things with power creep get released, and then obviously the difficulty has to adjust so that people don't just face roll everything that comes along. So with Divine Pandemonium, examples like Vayne's event, Quistis's event, DET Transcendence 5 that includes like the Wind Imperil Lufenia Orb, but you can't actually imperil Wind, so you kind of need to have Barts. You know, things like that. People are really worried of the direction that things are going in, but just be cautious of the fact that it's only going to be that way for a short while before it really opens back up again. And it's the same thing as any power creep. Like, obviously the game has to like cater to that so that people are still wanting to pull for things. Otherwise people just wouldn't pull on anything apart from characters that happen to be their favorites. And this is not a bad thing. Like, having it challenging, I will do my best when talking about Lufenia Plus missions going forward to find alternate methods of beating them that don't involve the banner characters, as I always have done. But there are going to be certain ones that are more restrictive than others, so just bear that in mind. But like I said, at least it's one that you don't have to pull for if you already have BTs. When BT Pluses are released, like new BTs tend to get released, and then an older one tends to get updated. For example, in this batch, it's going to be Y'shtola and Zidane. Zidane is new, Y'shtola is not. Then we get Ace and Bart's, where Ace is new and Bart's is not. And then that will continue as a trend. So as long as you have some BTs, you have a lot to look forward to. So now let's talk about Lufenia Plus. Now Lufenia Plus is the next power creep in difficulty. And honestly, there isn't much that differentiates it in terms of mechanics, like core mechanics, to Lufenia. So it's the level 250 mission, and it will still have very much the same properties as a Lufenia mission. As in, you'll have a Lufenia orb that needs dealing with, you'll have to, that will change depending on the mission that you're on, and you'll have to bring the correct team in order to solve the puzzle and beat the character while still dealing a decent amount of damage. Now the difficulty there is that last bit I said, dealing a decent amount of damage, because brave gain and damage reductions become very, very large from this point in time. So where characters would deal tons of damage before, the brave damage reduction percentages will be so high that you'll find that without the proper support, you're doing nothing. And this is true of a lot of fights going forward. Not only that, but a lot of enemies will start to jump their turns around in unexpected ways, or even punish you outright for taking too many turns without allowing the enemy to move. And this means that being able to bring controlling aspects to the fight in ways other than straight turn manipulation are gonna be really, really valuable. Now obviously every fight is different, and therefore every fight is going to require different characters brought along, but there are characters that we have access to now that will help a great deal going forward. And these are all characters in late Lufenia era that I, and I'm sure many other content creators, have mentioned as being very helpful for early Lufenia Plus, because luckily we have the foresight of the JP version to be able to kind of go, they're still using that character. And some examples of that include Setzer is going to really start to show his worth from this point, because brave damage reductions and gain reductions and all that are all well and good, but if you're hitting for rainbow numbers with your entire party, then it doesn't really matter. So that's a big thing, and he still has his freeze, which is going to be helpful for controlling the enemies. He's got a bit of delay in his kit, but not too much. Setzer's kind of like a perfect all-rounder for Lufenia Plus. And obviously, it being higher difficulty, bosses are going to start dealing a lot more damage, they're going to start doing a lot more nasty things with their turns, and for that reason, Porum is a very, very good shout going forward. Porum being able to reduce damage like very, very well as deal damage that doesn't rely on the defense stats of the enemies, because it is a fixed kind of damage multiplier based on your max HP with her follow-ups. She's got a lot going for her. Brave gain percentage increases are going to be massive going forwards as well. So that's Porum, Ishtola, etc. Really, really good stuff. Basically any kind of percentile increases that are going to counteract the decreases that the Lufenia Plus bosses are going to put on you are going to be very helpful. And in terms of controlling the enemies and the things that they do going forward, Agrius is actually a really good shout here as well, because Agrius not only provides 3 different methods of controlling the enemies, but also has a half decent amount of damage, has a HP brave damage up multiplier on her LD bravery attack debuff. She has HP healing. She's going to be a really good character for this point in time as well. And I could go on about loads and loads of characters that all do really well, but I would like to mention, give some special mentions to Varn, particularly in combination with Setzer, because the amount of bravery he retains and the fact that he can't go under a certain amount of bravery, meaning he's always going to deal a certain amount of damage. And with Setzer, he's still going to be churning out a decent amount now. You've got Yuna, who still has the percentile increases, Esunaga, the ability to just deal a half decent amount of damage, at least in combination with the right characters. Tifa, for the same reason as Varn. X-Death, because his HP poison is evergreen, it's something that gets used even really late into Lufenia Plus era, and certainly in combination with certain characters like Aphmau, Sid Reigns. Characters like that going forward are going to do really well. Beatrix, it gets her rework and her LD boards, etc. really early on, alongside Zidane, and she's going to actually be a long-lasting character. So another thing I want to say about BT Plus era is that I've seen a lot of comments from people saying, oh, they're only just power creeping the BT characters. What about the LD ones? And rest assured, that is very, very not true. Trust me when I say the likes of Beatrix, Aphmau, Sid Raines, Ace even without his BT, like they go on very, very well for a very long period of time. So don't think that just getting characters with their LDs stops here, because that is very much not the case. It's just that with Lufenia Plus, you are going to have to rethink how you deal damage, because the reductions and the mechanics of each individual fight are going to be harder than what we've seen previously. So that's actually all for this video. I'm actually preparing some more videos for the beginning of BT Plus era, so of Zidane, Ishtola, Beatrix, Renoa, etc, etc, and there's a lot of information to come in, so you've got plenty of videos to look forward to from me. Let me know what you think of the BT Plus era, let me know what you think of Lufenia Plus, how you plan to tackle these things going forwards, and just comment below and let me know what you think of how the game is going in general. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell for notifications, and I shall see you guys next time. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care.